Hi, how are ya? So today I wanted to make a video that I saw Kayla at Books and Mala do. I'm a big fan of her channel, I've mentioned it here before, but she did a video where she made TBRs for her alternate realities. Now what this means is, like, for example, the first alternate reality I'll give you TBR for is the alternate reality in which I am still a teenager. So I found books that are current YA books that I would read if I was still a teenager. So that's kind of how it works. I love this video idea. I think it's so much fun. She's so creative. She's so cool. All credit goes to her. Obviously, I didn't come up with this idea. She did. She deserves the credit, and it's super fun, so I'm going to participate. So I came up with these TBRs. I think they're a lot of fun, and I'm excited to share them with you. So, like I said, the first one is the alternate reality in which I am still a teenager. I'm currently 21 years old. I am a wife. I am a mother. And I'm definitely not a teenager anymore. But if I was, here's what I would read. First book that I would read is The Only Girl in Town by Ali Condi. This is about a girl named July who wakes up one day and her entire town has disappeared. Her family, her friends, everybody. It's just her. She's the only girl in town. Her only chance at unraveling this mystery is a series of objects, each a reminder of someone she lost and a message that says get them back. That sounds like it would be right up my alley. Honestly, I might still read that as an adult today. But yeah, teenage me really enjoyed a good mystery, and adult me also enjoys a good mystery. The next book might surprise you guys a little, because if you've been around on my channel any amount of time, you know I'm not a romance girly. I'm just not. I have a hard time with romance. I have a hard time getting into romance. I have not found romance recently that I really loved. So, the next book is See You on Venus by Victoria Venezuela. I think that's how you say her name. I'm sorry if it's wrong. This is about two star-crossed teens who embark on a journey of Spain. A journey of Spain? A journey to Spain. To discover the meaning of love, death, and everything in between. So you're following this girl named Mia. She has a heart condition which requires a surgery. And she wants to go to Spain to find her biological mom before that. And then also a boy named Kyle, who was the life of the party until he was involved in a car accident that killed his best friend. So he's racked with guilt, and they decide to go together and get the answers that they need. I think teenage me would have liked this. I like romances a lot more as a teenager, especially when they followed other teenagers, so it checks out for me. The next one is Strange Unearthly Things by Kelly Krieg. This is a paranormal retelling of Jane Eyre. Now, I've always been a classics girly. I enjoy classics. Ever since I was like pretty young, like 6th, 7th grade, I really liked classics. But Jane Eyre has scarred me. And here's why. My freshman year of high school, we did Jane Eyre the play. And it was one of the worst times in my life, not because of the play, but because of things that happened during that time with certain people that I was in the play with. Just bad things. And it was a rough time for me. And so I just always associate Jane Eyre with that rough time. So I've never liked it. And I've never read the book, I just know the play. So maybe this would have been my redemption arc. Maybe it could still be my redemption arc for Jane Eyre. But basically, it's following a girl named Jane, who is a psychic artist. She decides to take place in a study at the English manor Fairfax Hall, where she meets Elias Thornfield, the mysterious and handsome proprietor of the estate. It becomes clear that something is amiss as she learns that her art and growing affection for Elias may be the key to saving him from a horrible fate. That seems like something I'd like. I've also kind of liked vaguely spooky things forever. That checks the boxes. Classics, vaguely spooky. I'm there. The next one is very different vibe. This one is called Restrict by Sol Rivera. This is a poetry collection written by a teenage girl, and it is a modern examination of eating disorders, body image, puberty, and self-worth. I think that this one would be really impactful to me as a teen and as an adult. I didn't have an eating disorder when I was a teenager, but I definitely did not have a healthy relationship with food or with eating in general. So I guess maybe I did have an eating disorder. But it, as something that has affected me even into adulthood, and something that I've noticed more recently, I am currently pregnant. I'm now into my 2nd trimester of pregnancy, but in my 1st trimester of pregnancy I had a lot of food aversions. I had a hard time eating certain foods. And it just brought me back to that feeling of not wanting to eat and not knowing what to eat and just feeling this dread around food and eating. And so I think that this book would have been really impactful, and what really stood out to me about it is that it is written by a teenage girl, and that's something that I think is really cool. so I might read it as an adult. The last book is Lightlark by Alex Astor. I've heard of it vaguely because I know that it was popular on TikTok. I don't have TikTok, not because I think I'm better than somebody, but because I don't want to waste my time. And I know I would waste so much time on TikTok because I already waste too much time on Instagram. And so that's the main reason why I don't have it. But this was popular on TikTok, and it's about an island that appears every 100 years, and the rulers of the 6 realms are invited to play a deadly game. So you're following a young ruler named Isla who must lie, cheat, and betray to win this game. And I think it's a romantasy. Again, I'm not super into romance now as an adult, but I did like romance, and I really liked romantasy as a teenager. I will say, the biggest reason why I don't like romantasy now is because now, I would say a lot, not all, but a lot of romantasies are just smut. Very thinly veiled as fantasy. And I'm not a smut girly. It's just not me. If you are, good for you. But I'm not. I don't want to read that. And so it's like, why would I pick up a romantasy if I know it's just going to be like fairy porn? So yeah, that's why I wouldn't read the romantasy now as an adult. But I did like romantasy as a teenager, and generally when it's YA it means it's more clean. So sometimes that's not the case, but most of the time. So yeah, that would be in the alternate reality in which I am still a teenager. Okay, so the next alternate reality is the one in which I cover buy only. Now, to be completely honest with you, I don't buy books that often. I mostly read off of Libby, the Libby app. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a library app where you can put in your library card, no matter where you live. I think in the US. I don't know if it's in other countries. So you can put in your library book, and then you will get access to an online catalog of ebooks and audiobooks. So that is where I read the majority of my books, because I don't have money to buy books all the time. I wish that I did, but I just don't. Especially when you're like a young family and you have small children. A lot of our money goes to like diapers and formula. So books is lower on the list. So this is the alternate reality in which, number 1, I have the money to just buy books all the time, and 2, I only buy books based on their cover and not what they're about. What's funny about this though is that I didn't look up any of the synopsises, anything, until after I picked these books for their covers, and then most of them made it onto my actual TBR. So I guess my cover skills are pretty good. The first one is The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. So I'm just looking at it here. That's what I'm looking at, if you're confused. I really like this cover because I like the bold reds with also the muted like gold and green. I like the florals. I like that there's a lot of little details in here, and I appreciate when there's details in the cover that like after you read the book you're like, oh yeah, I know what that's about. And I kind of feel like that's the vibe with this one. I feel like after I read it I would be like, oh, scissors. Okay, I know why those are there. So I just generally liked the vibe. I liked the floral, and then I liked the boldness of the font. So that was what drew me to it. This book is about witch suffragettes. Need I say more? The next book is called Entangled Life, How Fungi Make Our Worlds, Change Our Minds, and Shape Our Futures by Merlin Sheldrake. This one, I love the cover because I love that it has the black background and then the bold colors of the fungi on top of it. I like that there's the little swirly gold stuff going on in the background. I like the simplicity of the font, and I like that it's sans serif. You know, I like a good serif, but I think the sans serif really works for this one. Yeah, that's what drew me to it. I'm a big mushroom girly. I think mushrooms are fun. I think they're super cute. I enjoy eating them too, but I think they're like just adorable to look at and draw and stuff. So this is a nonfiction about fungi and how important they are, and I want to read it immediately. The next book is Hello Beautiful by Ann Napolitano. This one, I love the painted style of it. I love that you're seeing the shadow through cool tones with like the greens, the purple, and then you're seeing the light with those warmer tones with that peachy pink color. I think that it is beautifully done, and I like that it's not super blended and realistic, but a little bit more color blocky, but that you still get the sense of the shape of her face and where things are. So this book is about a man named William who suffered from a tragedy as a child, and then he meets this girl named Julia, and seems like they're going to get together, and then his past comes up, and it causes a rift that changes their lives for generations. This quote from Goodreads is what really got me. It says, "Hello Beautiful is a gorgeous, profoundly moving portrait of what's possible when we choose to love someone, not in spite of who they are, but because of it." That seems like it would be a very moving book, and I'm all for that. Okay, so the next one is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, but it's not this cover, it's this cover. So I don't know if this is like the UK one or which, you know what I mean, because sometimes like the US and the UK versions are different. I don't know, but I really love how you have the two main characters on the front. I like that the guy's upside down. I like that they're both holding the piece of paper. And I like that you can tell that it's historical fiction based on what she is wearing. This is about an 18-year-old who wants to hold her family together. Her mother is suffering from an addiction, her brother is missing from the front lines of the war, and she wants to get this columnist promotion at the Oath Gazette where she works. And so to combat her worries, she writes these letters to her brother and slips them beneath her wardrobe door, where they disappear into the hands of Roman Kit, her cold and handsome rival at the paper. He anonymously writes Iris back, and the two of them form a connection that will follow Iris all the way to the front lines of battle, for her brother, for the fate of mankind, and love. This one seems like it is interesting. Like I said, I'm not a big romance girly, and it seems like it is mostly romance, but if you've read it, let me know if it's worth reading, because it does seem like it would be good, and it kind of has a little bit of You've Got Mail vibes, which is my favorite movie. So yeah, let me know, because this one's really popular right now. I've seen it all over the place. Tell me if I should read it. The last one is Paper Names by Susie Liu. I love the texture of this one. I like that the color is not just plain on there, but that you can kind of see through it. I like that the woman on the front is a little bit transparent and you can see some of those color blocking shapes in the background. I like that you do have that color blocking shapes mixed in with what looks like homes. I like the bright colors as well. This is a general fiction that is following a Chinese American family and a wealthy white lawyer in a violent attack that causes their lives to intertwine. This one seems like it would be pretty heavy. That's a pretty general description, but the more I read into it, it seems like it's a pretty heavy story. And that's something that I think I would maybe want to read eventually, but I'm not in the space for right now. But let me know if you've read this one, because it looks like it could be a good book. Okay, the next alternate reality is the alternate reality in which I have a book club. I do not currently have a book club. I do think it would be fun to have one myself, or to just be a part of one. Book clubs are lots of fun. I would like to join one eventually, or maybe start one myself. Let me know if that's something you're interested in, I guess, because I don't really know what the logistics are there. But I do find them interesting. So the first book that I would pick for a book club is The International House of Dereliction by Jacqueline Davis. This is a middle grade that I recently read, and it is freaking adorable, okay? You're following this little girl. She moves into a new house, and the house next to it is condemned. She meets some ghosties. She helps them out. It's very cute. It's slightly spooky, but like not in a scary way, more like a Casper the Friendly Ghost way. And I think this would be fun for book club, because I think that it would be, well, first of all, there's a little bit of mystery, so it'd be fun to talk about what you think it is as you read along. And also it's just cozy, you know? It's cozy, it's fun, it's easy to read. I think it would be a great book to kick off a book club. The next one is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This is one of my favorite books I've read this year. I think that this would be a great one for a book club, because there could be some really deep discussions that happen, especially because so much of it involves society after a pandemic, which is something that we're all experiencing and having to adjust to. This one is definitely more apocalyptic than our society is currently, but I do think that there could be some really interesting conversations. And I know when I read it, I just thought about it for such a long time afterwards, and I still think about it every once in a while. I'm like, oh yeah, you know, just think about the different themes from this book, and so I think that that would make a great book club discussion. The next one is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This book is weird. It's weird as heck, but I love Neil Gaiman's writing, and I think that it has such interesting themes. So this one is about a man who goes back home because one of his parents died. I can't remember if it's his mom or his dad. He goes back to his childhood home, and he's flooded with these memories that he completely forgot happened. He goes over to the neighbor's house, he chats with her about them, and it just kind of follows through these memories that are wild, truly wild. So I think this would be fun. You could have some really cool discussions about childhood, about memories and repressing memories, And also there's just such a magical element to it that you could kind of talk about like what you think is actually happening, because some of it makes you wonder a little bit. The next two books, I have not actually read them, but they seem really interesting. The first one is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. This follows a group of senior citizens who like to solve cold cases together, and then they insert themselves into a current murder case to try and solve it. This one would be fun, I think, because you could try and solve it with them along as you go. I've heard that it is pretty funny. I've heard it has the very dry British sense of humor, which is something that I find funny. So I think that would be fun, and I think that this one would be fun to follow along, like, as you go through the book, have discussions and see, like, where everybody's at, what they think. The next one, Similar Reasons, Murder Your Employer by Rupert Holmes. This is a thriller about a college that teaches people how to murder other people. This one, I think there might be a little bit of mystery in there, and I also think it could it could provide some interesting discussion. So yeah, that is the alternate reality in which I have a book club. If I had a book club, what would I name it? Tell me what you think my alternate reality book club would be named. And then if I ever make one, maybe I'll choose one of your suggestions. The next category of alternate realities is the alternate reality in which I am not a pansy. Currently, I am. So many horror books really intrigue me, and I think, that would be a very interesting read, and then I remember that I'm way too much of a scaredy cat to read horror. So this is basically just a list of horror books I would read if I wasn't so scared of horror books. The first one is Nana by Brandon Massey. This is about a woman named Monica who's never met her biological mom until this woman named Grace shows up and claims to be her. So she moves in with Monica's family and soon becomes indispensable. I mean, she helps with everything, cooking, dishes, the children, household, whatever. And then one day Monica gets sick with a mysterious illness that makes her look older. Meanwhile, Grace is starting to look younger and healthier every day. So can Monica's husband stop Grace before it's too late, and has Grace done this before? This seems very interesting and very spooky, and I've heard it's kind of scary. So yeah, that's the first one. The next book I would read if I wasn't a pansy, I've actually read like 80% of, and then I stopped because it was too much for me. And that's The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. This is about a woman named Beatrice who agrees to marry a powerful Don in order to help her family because her father was executed during the overthrow of the Mexican government. This is a historical fiction, historical horror, I guess. And she ignores the rumors about this guy's wife being mysteriously killed. She's like, yeah, whatever, I got this. And turns out she should have listened because it's demonic. She has to rely on the local father, who is also a witch, to help her cleanse the house. Yeah, I stopped reading this because it was too demonic for me. I personally, with my personal religious beliefs, I believe in demons and bad spirits, and I do believe that if you read certain things or watch certain things, it can invite demons into your home or into your mind, body. And I don't want to do that. I don't want them ghosties. Get away from me. So yeah, that's the main reason why I stopped reading it, is because it was too demonic for me. But it was an interesting story, and I do like the idea of, you know, the historical horror, I guess. The next book is Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. I'm not sure if I said their name correctly. I'm very sorry if I didn't. This is a book that explores the idea that members of the Ku Klux Klan are actual, literal monsters. And I guess it follows, like, I think it follows a band of people who are trying to hunt them down. And that sounds really interesting to me. This one I might still read, but I don't know how scary it is, because it is listed as horror. And so, if you've read this book, let me know if it's too scary for me. But that just seems like a really interesting idea. The next one is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I read a Southern Book Club's guide to vampire slaying, or is it slaying vampires? I'm not sure exactly how the title is phrased there. But that's by Grady Hendrix as well. And that scared the crap out of me, you guys. It was so scary, but it was really well written. So I think that I would like to read this one, but again, demonic, not into that. But it also takes place in the 80s. I'm a big fan of the 80s. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm so nostalgic for the 80s. I was born in 2002, so like, why am I so nostalgic for the 80s? I don't know, but I always have been. And so that's something that's a big draw for me. This is about two girls who have been best friends forever, and one of them starts acting differently, and the other one decides that she must be possessed and takes it upon her to get that demon out of her. So yeah, It sounds interesting, but I'm too scared. I'm too scared. The last book that I would read in the alternate reality that I'm not a pansy is A House at the Bottom of a Lake by Josh Malerman. This is a book that I've heard Kayla at Books and Lala talk about a ton. She loves it. It sounds so interesting, and I just don't know how scary it is. But it is about a teenage couple who find a house at the bottom of a lake and become obsessed with it, even though something dangerous might be lurking inside. So that sounds really interesting, and I don't know if it's more of like a psychological horror. I don't know if it's body horror. I don't know, but it sounds so interesting. So that is my alternate reality in which I am not a pansy. If you've read any of these books and you think that pansy me could handle it, let's chat. Let me know. But yeah, those are my alternate realities. Let me know if you liked this video. I think it's so much fun. Again, I really admire Kayla. I think she comes up with such great ideas, and this one was so much fun to do. So you should do it as well, per her invitation, and make sure to credit her. But I would love to see it because it's so fun to see what categories people choose to do, what books they choose. I just think it's fun. So yeah, thank you for joining me for this video, and I will see you in the next one.